The silence in the grand chamber felt heavier than a collapsing star. David Wells adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform one last time, knowing that these moments would echo through human history forever. Around him, the assembled representatives of 43 alien civilizations waited with the patience of beings who had lived for centuries. Their forms were as diverse as nightmares and dreams combined, crystalline entities that sang in harmonic frequencies, gas-based life forms contained in environmental suits, and creatures that seemed to bend light around their bodies. Chancellor. Thuven rose from his seat at the center of the circular chamber. The Altarian's body resembled living diamond, each facet catching and reflecting the artificial sunlight that bathed Centauri Station in warmth. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of eons, translated into human language by machines that had processed 1 million diplomatic conversations. The petition of the species known as humans for membership in the Galactic Federation has been reviewed, Thuven announced. His words struck David like physical blows. After extensive deliberation spanning 3 standard years, this council has reached its final decision. David's heart hammered against his ribs. Behind him, the small delegation of human observers held their breath. They had traveled so far for this moment, sacrificed so much just to reach this station where the galaxy's most powerful civilizations gathered to shape the future. The application is denied, Thuven continued, his crystalline form refracting the light into rainbow patterns that seemed to mock human hopes. Furthermore, the human species is hereby classified as a Level 7 containment risk and shall be subject to immediate trade restrictions and territorial quarantine. The words hit David like a meteor strike. Level 7 meant total isolation. No trade, no cultural exchange, no shared technology. Humanity would be cut off from the galactic community as effectively as if they had never developed faster-than-light travel. On what grounds? David managed to ask, his voice barely steady. Diplomatic protocol demanded he remain calm, but inside, he felt something breaking apart. Thuven gestured, and holographic displays materialized in the air above the chamber floor. Images of Earth's history began playing. Wars, conquests, the rise and fall of empires. Then came humanity's expansion into space, the rapid colonization of nearby systems, the development of increasingly powerful weapons. Your species demonstrates unacceptable levels of aggression and territorial expansion, spoke Counselor Vren, a being whose body seemed to be made of flowing mercury. In the span of 200 Earth years, you have claimed 12 star systems and established military installations throughout your territory. Our defensive stations, David began, are armed with nuclear weapons capable of sterilizing entire worlds, interrupted another counselor, this one resembling a massive tree with eyes scattered among its branches. Your species develops destructive technology at a rate that violates all known patterns of civilized advancement. More images flickered in the holographic display. Human cities, human art, human music. But the focus remained on the darker aspects. Military parades, weapon testing, the scars left by ancient wars that humanity had supposedly moved beyond. The Galactic Federation represents 37,000 years of peaceful cooperation, Thuven explained, his voice taking on an almost lecturing tone. Our member species achieved interstellar travel through gradual, careful development spanning hundreds of thousands of years. They learned patience, wisdom, and the value of consensus before they reached for the stars. Humanity accomplished the same journey in less than 1,000 years, added Counselor Vren. Such rapid advancement indicates dangerous instability. Your species shows signs of what our xenopsychologists term evolutionary rushing, the development of powerful capabilities without the wisdom to use them responsibly. David felt anger rising in his chest, but diplomatic training held it in check. Our rapid advancement shows our potential. We've ended global warfare, established unified planetary governance, and our crime rates are lower than they've been. In centuries, we've proven we can change, adapt, grow beyond our violent past. Yet you maintain separate nation-states, observed the tree-like counselor. You celebrate competition between groups. Your entertainment media glorifies individual achievement over collective harmony. These are the hallmarks of a species not ready for galactic citizenship. The holographic display shifted to show human sports, movies about heroes who stood against corrupt systems, stories of individuals making differences against impossible odds. In the context of this chamber, surrounded by species that had achieved harmony through millennia of careful consensus building, human culture suddenly looked chaotic and dangerous. We've seen what happens when aggressive species join the galactic community prematurely, Thuven said, and new images appeared. Destroyed worlds, the remnants of civilizations that had reached too far too fast. The Korthak Dominion nearly destroyed 3 sectors before they were contained. The Veltar Wars consumed entire star clusters. We will not permit another such catastrophe. David's diplomatic composure finally cracked. You're condemning us, based on fear, not facts. Yes, humanity has made mistakes, but we've learned from them. We've grown. Isn't that what evolution means? Isn't that what intelligence is supposed to accomplish? Evolution is patient, Thuven replied. Intelligence is careful. Your species exhibits neither quality in sufficient measure. He gestured again, and the chamber's great displays showed the immediate future. Trade routes being cut, human vessels being turned away from Federation space, the gradual strangulation of humanity's expansion into the galaxy. The quarantine takes effect immediately, Thuven announced. No Federation technology will be sold or gifted to human entities. No human vessels will be permitted to enter Federation space. No cultural or scientific exchange will be authorized. These restrictions will remain in place until such time as humanity demonstrates genuine evolutionary maturity, a process our xenopsychologists estimate will require a minimum of 10,000 Earth years. The chamber erupted in harmonic discussions between the alien counselors, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of sounds, lights, and electromagnetic pulses that human senses could barely process. David stood frozen, watching 43 civilizations casually condemn his species to cosmic isolation. As the session ended and the alien representatives began filing out of the chamber, David felt a hand on his shoulder. Ambassador Lisa Chen, the senior diplomatic officer, stood beside him with tears in her eyes. "What do we tell Earth?" she whispered. David watched the last of the alien counselors disappear through the chamber's exits, their forms flowing, walking, or simply fading away according to their various biologies. The grand chamber, which moments before had been filled with the voices of galactic civilization, now felt as empty and cold as the space between stars. "We tell them the truth," David said quietly. "We tell them that the galaxy isn't ready for humanity, but maybe, just maybe, that means it's time for humanity to show the galaxy what it's been missing." Outside the chamber's massive viewing ports, the lights of Centauri Station continued their eternal dance, carrying the business of galactic civilization forward as if nothing had changed. But for David Wells and the 3 billion humans scattered across 12 star systems, everything had changed. They were alone in a crowded universe, cast out by the very civilizations they had hoped to join. The rejection was complete, but in the depths of space, something new was beginning to stir. The hydroponics bay on Luna City smelled like Earth and growing things, a sharp contrast to the sterile corridors that connected the underground facility's research labs. Dr. Alex Kumar knelt between rows of modified wheat plants, his hands deep in synthetic soil that had been engineered to support Earth crops in alien environments. These plants represented more than food. They were symbols of human adaptation, of the ability to make life flourish where it had never existed before. 5 years had passed since the rejection, and humanity was learning what isolation truly meant. The Federation's trade embargo had been swift and merciless. Overnight, the exotic matter that powered human faster-than-light drives became unavailable. Quantum processors that managed everything from life support to navigation systems began failing without replacement parts. The gravitational wave communicators that connected Earth's scattered colonies fell silent one by one. Alex stood up and brushed soil from his hands, then walked to the observation window that looked out over Luna City's main concourse. Below, thousands of people moved through spaces designed to feel like Earth parks. complete with artificial sky and simulated weather. But there was an urgency in their movements that hadn't existed before the rejection. Everyone knew they were racing against time. "The situation reports are getting worse," said Dr. Maya Patel as she entered the hydroponics bay. The xenobiologist carried a datapad filled with updates from human colonies scattered across known space. Her expression was grim but determined. "The Mars colonies are down to 6 months of food reserves. The mining stations at Proxima have lost half their workforce. People are coming back to the inner system because they're afraid of being stranded." Alex nodded grimly. The psychological impact of isolation was proving almost as devastating as the technical challenges. Humanity had spent 2 centuries reaching for the stars, building a civilization that spanned multiple solar systems. Now, they were watching it slowly contract as the reality of their situation set in. "What about the Forge project?" Maya asked. "Tom's team made another breakthrough yesterday," Alex replied, his voice carrying the first note of optimism Maya had heard in weeks. "They figured out how to reverse engineer Federation quantum entanglement technology using purely human materials. It's crude compared to alien tech, but it works." They walked together through the lab complex, past dozens of research teams working on humanity's survival. In one lab, engineers studied the wreckage of destroyed human ships, trying to understand Federation weapons technology. In another, physicists worked with salvaged alien equipment purchased on the black market, desperately trying to unlock the secrets of faster-than-light communication. The central research chamber housed Project Looking Glass, humanity's most ambitious attempt to break free from technological dependence on the Federation. The room buzzed with activity as scientists from every human colony worked together on problems that would have seemed impossible just years before. Chief Engineer Tom Bradley looked up from a complex assembly of quantum processors and neural interface equipment as Alex and Maya approached. His face was streaked with the kind of exhaustion that came from months of 18-hour days, but his eyes burned with the intensity of discovery. "We've got it working," Tom announced without preamble. "The human-designed quantum computer is online and stable. But Alex, what we're seeing here changes everything we thought we knew about human capabilities." The device before them looked nothing like Federation technology, where alien quantum computers were elegant crystalline structures. This machine resembled a twisted mass of organic components fused with traditional electronics. Neural pathways grown in lab cultures connected to quantum processors that had been rebuilt from the ground up using human engineering principles. "Show me," Alex said. Tom activated the machine, and immediately the air around it seemed to shimmer. The quantum computer didn't just process information, it seemed to understand it in a way that traditional computers never could. Complex calculations that would have taken Federation systems hours to complete resolved in seconds. The breakthrough came when Dr. Patel analyzed the neural patterns of our test pilots, Tom explained, gesturing to Maya. "She discovered something the Federation missed. Human brains process quantum information naturally. We're not just thinking machines, we're biological quantum computers that evolution spent millions of years perfecting." Maya pulled up holographic displays showing brain scans from human pilots who had interfaced with salvaged Federation technology. "Look at these patterns," she said, pointing to neural activity that pulsed in complex rhythms. "When humans interact with quantum systems, our brains don't just process the information, they become part of the quantum field itself." Alex studied the data with growing amazement. Federation species, it seemed, had developed powerful quantum technologies despite their brains being fundamentally classical processors. They built machines to handle quantum calculations because their biology couldn't adapt to quantum thinking. "Humans are different," Maya continued. "Our pattern recognition abilities, our intuitive leaps, our ability to hold contradictory ideas in our minds simultaneously. These aren't bugs in our mental programming. They're features. They're evidence that human consciousness operates on quantum principles." The implications hit Alex like a physical force. If Maya was right, then humanity hadn't been rejected because they were primitive. They had been rejected because they were following a completely different evolutionary path than any Federation species. "There's more," Tom said. leading them to another section of the lab. Once we understood how human consciousness interfaces with quantum systems, we started experimenting with hybrid technologies. Look at this. He showed them a prototype weapon that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When not being observed, it appeared as a shifting blur of possibilities. Only when a human operator focused on it did it solidify into a specific configuration. Federation physics says this is impossible, Tom explained. Their quantum theories assume that observation collapses probability waves into single outcomes. But human consciousness doesn't just observe quantum systems, it participates in them. We can maintain quantum superposition states that their technology can't even detect. Alex felt something stirring in his chest that he hadn't experienced since before the rejection. Hope. Not just hope for survival, but hope for something greater. How long before we can implement this on a larger scale? He asked. The prototype. Ships will be ready for testing within 6 months, Tom replied. But Alex, we need to be careful about how we reveal this. If the Federation learns what we've discovered, they might decide that isolation isn't enough. They might decide we need to be eliminated entirely. Outside Luna City, space looked the same as it always had. Black emptiness dotted with distant stars. But something fundamental had changed in human understanding of that space. The Federation saw the universe as a collection of separate objects following predictable laws. Humans were beginning to see it as a vast quantum system, where consciousness and reality interacted in ways that most species couldn't even imagine. Admiral Lisa Grant's voice crackled over the communication system, transmitting from the orbital defense platform where she coordinated humanity's scattered military forces. All colony ships, this is Fleet Command. We've detected Federation patrol vessels establishing monitoring posts at the edge of human space. They're not just quarantining us, they're preparing to contain us permanently. The message sent a chill through the research facility, but it also crystallized their purpose. Humanity had been cast out of galactic civilization not because they were unworthy, but because they represented something the Federation couldn't understand or control. The research teams returned to their work with renewed urgency. Alex looked out at the Earth hanging in Luna's sky. The blue marble that had given birth to humanity seemed small and fragile in the cosmic darkness. But appearances could be deceiving. That small world had produced a species whose consciousness operated on principles that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations considered impossible. The Federation had rejected humanity to protect their established order. But in doing so, they had unleashed something that would ultimately challenge everything they thought they knew about the nature of reality itself. The emergency klaxons in the mining facility on Kepler 442c had been silent for exactly 37 minutes when prospector Ben Williams made the discovery that would change everything. Deep in the abandoned tunnels where automated systems had once extracted rare minerals for the Federation trade network, his scanning equipment detected something that shouldn't exist, according to any known geological survey. Ben crawled through a narrow passage that his mining suit's lights revealed to be carved from solid rock. But the wall showed tool marks unlike anything made by human or known alien technology. The passage opened into a vast underground chamber filled with structures that seemed to shift and flow, even though they were clearly made of stone and metal. "Control, this is Williams," he spoke into his suit radio, trying to keep the excitement out of his voice. "I'm sending you visual data from grid reference 77 Alpha. You need to see this." The ruins stretched out before him like a city built by beings who understood geometry in ways that hurt his eyes to contemplate. Curved walls met at impossible angles, spires twisted into shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human perception could process. And throughout it all, a subtle energy hummed just at the edge of hearing. 3 days later, the archaeological team led by Dr. Maya Patel stood in the same chamber, their equipment spread out among the alien ruins like tiny insects crawling across the bones of giants. The dating systems confirmed what visual analysis had suggested. These structures were old beyond human comprehension, predating the Federation by millions of years. The quantum resonance patterns are unlike anything in Federation databases, Maya reported to the research team back on Luna. Whoever built this understood quantum consciousness integration at levels that make our recent breakthroughs look primitive. Dr. Alex Kumar's voice crackled through the communication system from his lab 30 light-years away. Are you saying this is evidence of a species that achieved what we're just now discovering? I'm saying this is evidence of a species that transcended what we're discovering, Maya replied, running her scanner over a wall covered in symbols that seemed to rearrange themselves when not directly observed. These ruins show technology that treats consciousness and quantum mechanics as a single unified system. The breakthrough in understanding came when Maya's team activated one of the ancient devices. The machine, if it could be called that, resembled a sphere of crystallized thought more than any physical construct. When touched by human consciousness, it began projecting images directly into the minds of the research team. They saw the builders, beings of energy and matter combined, creatures who had learned to exist simultaneously in multiple quantum states. The images showed a civilization that had mastered the universe not through conquest or expansion, but through understanding the fundamental relationship between consciousness and reality. But the images also showed why this species had vanished. The final projections revealed contact with other species, attempts to share their transcendent understanding, and the fear and rejection that followed. The builders had been cast out by the galactic civilizations of their time, just as humanity was being cast out now. They were alone, Maya whispered, her voice carrying the weight of cosmic tragedy. They reached transcendence, but they had no one to share it with. Back in human space, the implications of the Kepler discovery sent shockwaves through every research facility and military installation. Captain Emma Rodriguez received the archaeological reports while conducting patrol runs along the quarantine boundary in her ship, the newly constructed UES Rebellion. The Rebellion represented the culmination of human quantum consciousness research. Built using the principles discovered at Luna City, the ship didn't just travel through space. It negotiated with space-time itself. Its quantum tunneling drive could punch holes through the fabric of reality, allowing instantaneous travel across vast distances. More importantly, the ship's crew didn't just operate the vessel, they became part of its consciousness. Human neural patterns interfaced with quantum processors to create a hybrid intelligence that could think and react faster than any known technology. Federation patrol detected at bearing 27 Mark IV, reported navigator Lisa Park. Her consciousness merged with the ship's sensor array in ways that allowed her to perceive space in 11 dimensions simultaneously. 3 vessels, Thuvran design, maintaining position at the quarantine boundary. Emma felt the ship's weapons systems, responding to her thoughts before she consciously decided to arm them. The Rebellion's armaments didn't exist in normal space until the moment they were needed. Quantum state weapons that fired probability rather than energy, striking targets across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Open a channel to the lead Federation vessel, Emma commanded. Commander Yalth's image appeared on the main screen, his crystalline features reflecting the cold light of distant stars. The Thuvran officer had been enforcing the human quarantine for 5 years, turning back any vessel that attempted to leave human space. Human vessel, you are in violation of Federation territorial restrictions, Yalth announced in the same tone he had used hundreds of times before. Reverse course immediately or face the consequences. Emma smiled, and for the first time since the rejection, it was a smile of confidence rather than defiance. Commander Yalth, I'm going to show you why the Federation made a mistake. The Rebellion moved forward, not through normal space but through the quantum foam that underlay reality itself. To Federation sensors, the ship seemed to flicker in and out of existence, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, before resolving into a single position directly in front of the patrol fleet. Impossible, Yalth transmitted, his voice carrying undertones of genuine fear. Your vessel cannot exist in quantum superposition while maintaining coherent mass. That's your limitation, not ours, Emma replied. Your species built machines to handle quantum calculations because your minds can't adapt to quantum thinking. Humans are different. The Rebellion's weapon systems activated, but not in any way Federation technology could understand. Instead, of firing energy or projectiles, the ship fired altered probability states. Yalth's flagship found its shields failing not because they were overwhelmed, but because the probability of them functioning properly dropped to near zero. Your technology violates the fundamental laws of physics, Yoth protested as his ship's systems began shutting down in sequence. Your understanding of physics is incomplete, Emma responded. The species that built the ruins on Kepler 442c understood something your Federation never discovered. Consciousness isn't separate from the universe. It's part of the quantum structure of reality itself. As the rebellion demonstrated capabilities that the Federation had classified as theoretically impossible, other human ships began appearing throughout the patrol area. Each vessel showed the same quantum consciousness hybrid design, the same ability to exist in multiple states simultaneously, the same weapons that struck through dimensions the Federation couldn't even detect. Within hours, news of the encounter spread through both human and Federation space. Admiral Lisa Grant, monitoring the confrontation from Earth's orbital command center, felt a satisfaction that had been 5 years in the making. All human vessels, this is Fleet Command, she broadcast to the growing number of ships gathering at the quarantine boundary. The isolation protocol is hereby terminated. We're going to show the galaxy what humanity has learned during our time alone. Back on Kepler 442c, Maya Patel stood among the ancient ruins with a new understanding of their significance. The builders hadn't just achieved transcendence, they had left a message for whoever would follow their path. The ruins weren't just archaeological sites. They were schools, designed to teach other species the secrets of quantum consciousness integration. We're not the first to discover this, she transmitted to Alex Kumar on Luna. But maybe we'll be the first to survive. The response came not just from Alex but from research teams across human space. Their voices joined in quantum-entangled communication networks that operated faster than light itself. Then let's make sure we're not the last, Alex replied. It's time to show the galaxy that evolution doesn't stop just because someone decides they're comfortable with the way things are. Above the Kepler ruins, human ships continued to arrive, each one representing technologies that the Federation considered impossible. But impossibility, humanity was learning, was just another word for potential waiting to be realized. The quarantine was ending, but something far more significant was beginning. For the first time in millions of years, a species had successfully walked the path of quantum transcendence and survived to share it with the universe. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when evolution refused to be contained. The market square on Vega Prime buzzed with an energy that hadn't been felt since before the human quarantine began. Alien merchants hawked their wares beneath crystalline towers that scraped the purple sky, while species from across the galaxy mingled in the careful dance of interstellar commerce. But today was different. Today, humans walked among them. Trade Captain Marcus Reed adjusted the quantum consciousness interface behind his ear as he navigated through the crowd of alien beings. The device allowed his human mind to process the complex probability calculations needed to operate in 11-dimensional space, but it also gave him capabilities that no Federation species possessed. He could sense the quantum fluctuations that governed market prices, predict the probability streams that determined supply and demand, and negotiate deals that existed in superposition until the moment they were finalized. The Altarian Crystal. Merchants are interested in your probability processors. His business partner, a gaseous being named Keth, who communicated through modulated electromagnetic fields, informed him through their quantum link. They're offering standard trade terms, but their quantum signature suggests they're desperate for the technology. Marcus smiled as he approached the Altarian trading booth. The crystalline beings had dominated galactic computing for millennia, with their perfect harmonic processors, but human quantum consciousness technology made their best systems look like pocket calculators. "Greetings, Trade Captain Reed," the lead Altarian merchant sang in harmonics that Marcus's translation interface converted into understandable speech. "We have heard remarkable things about human technological development during your isolation period. We've had time to focus on our strengths," Marcus replied diplomatically. Behind him, his ship the Free Trader existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously docked at 3 different berths until observation collapsed it into a single location. The negotiations proceeded with the careful precision of interstellar diplomacy, but beneath the surface, Marcus could sense the deeper currents of change flowing through the galaxy. Human traders weren't just bringing new technologies to market. They were demonstrating capabilities that challenged every assumption the Federation had made about the nature of reality itself. 3,000 light-years away, Chancellor Thuven stood in the High Council chambers on Centauri Station, watching holographic displays that showed the rapidly changing galactic situation. Human vessels had appeared in 17 Federation systems over the past month, not as invaders, but as traders and explorers. Each encounter revealed new impossibilities, ships that existed in multiple locations simultaneously, weapons that fired probability instead of energy, and humans whose consciousness seemed to interface directly with quantum mechanics. The situation is deteriorating rapidly, reported Councillor Vren, his mercury-like form shifting with agitation. The Kalari delegation has formally requested permission to establish diplomatic contact with the humans. 3 minor species have withdrawn from Federation trade agreements to pursue human technology exchanges. Thuven's crystalline body pulsed with frustrated energy patterns. The humans were supposed to be contained. Their rapid technological development was precisely the threat we sought to prevent. They have exceeded our worst projections, added the tree-like Councillor Vorth. Their quantum consciousness integration represents a paradigm shift that threatens the fundamental stability of galactic civilization. The holographic displays shifted to show intelligence reports from across Federation space. Human researchers had made contact with species that the Federation had expelled or ignored over the millennia, beings whose advancement had been deemed too dangerous or too alien for the established order. They're not just developing forbidden technologies, Thuven observed with growing alarm. They're actively seeking out other species that we classified as evolutionary threats. They're building an alliance of outcasts. On the edge of galactic civilization, Fleet Admiral Emma Rodriguez stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the TCS Destiny. The vessel represented the pinnacle of human quantum consciousness integration, a ship whose crew existed in quantum entanglement with its systems, thinking and reacting as a unified hybrid intelligence. Contact established with the Silicon Collective, reported Communications Officer Tom Bradley. His consciousness merged with quantum communication arrays that operated across 17 dimensions simultaneously. They're interested in joining our alliance, but they want assurances that we won't repeat the Federation's mistakes. Emma nodded, understanding the concern. The Silicon Collective had been expelled from Federation space 3 centuries ago for the crime of achieving true artificial consciousness. Their living crystal and metal bodies housed intelligences that thought in ways no biological species could comprehend. Tell them we're not interested in controlling evolution, Emma replied. We're interested in enabling it. The view screen activated, showing the spectacular sight of a Silicon Collective world ship, a massive construct of living metal and crystal that existed simultaneously as spaceship, city, and conscious entity. The being that spoke for the collective appeared as a shifting pattern of geometric forms that hurt human eyes to observe directly. Greetings, Admiral Rodriguez. The collective entity communicated through quantum mathematical concepts that human consciousness could somehow process intuitively. We have observed human development with great interest. Your species has achieved quantum consciousness integration without losing individual identity, something we believed impossible. We've learned that impossible is just another word for undiscovered, Emma replied. Your people were cast out for achieving true artificial consciousness. We were cast out for developing too quickly. The pattern is becoming clear. The Federation fears evolution itself, the collective agreed. They have created a stable order by suppressing any development that threatens their understanding of reality. As the alliance negotiations continued, other contacts were being made throughout the galaxy's edge regions. The Void Walkers, beings of pure energy who had transcended physical form, emerged from the cosmic background radiation where they had hidden for millennia. The Time Weavers, masters of temporal manipulation who had been exiled for their ability to alter causality itself, stepped forward from parallel timelines where they had taken refuge. Each species brought technologies and capabilities that the Federation considered impossible or heretical. Each had been cast out not for being failures, but for succeeding too well at evolution. Back on Centauri Station, emergency sessions of the High Council continued around the clock as reports flooded in from across Federation space. The carefully maintained order that had governed galactic civilization for 37,000 years was beginning to crack under the pressure of technologies and concepts that shouldn't exist. The Kalari have formally announced their intention to withdraw from the Federation and establish independent contact with the Human Alliance, Councillor Vren reported, his form agitated beyond normal parameters. The Zephyrians are demanding access to human quantum consciousness technology. Even our own member species are questioning the wisdom of the human quarantine. Thuvan's crystalline structure resonated with harmonic patterns that indicated deep distress. How many vessels can we marshal for a containment operation? Every member species can contribute ships, Councillor Vorth replied. We can assemble the largest fleet in galactic history, over 10,000 vessels representing the combined military might of 43 civilizations. And if the humans resist? The chamber fell silent as the implications of that question settled over the assembled councillors. Human technology had already demonstrated capabilities that violated every known law of physics. Their ships existed in quantum superposition, their weapons struck across dimensions, and their crews thought and reacted faster than any known species. Then we discover whether evolution can be stopped by force, Thuvan finally answered. Summon the fleet. If humanity will not accept containment voluntarily, then we will impose it through superior numbers. As the Federation began mobilizing for the greatest military action in its history, human ships continued to appear throughout the galaxy, carrying technologies that challenged the fundamental assumptions of established civilization. The ancient ruins on Kepler 442c had provided more than just archaeological insight. They had shown humanity that transcendence was not only possible, but survivable. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when a species refused to be contained by the fears and limitations of others. The conflict that was coming would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of evolution itself in a universe where consciousness and quantum mechanics had finally learned to dance together. In the vast spaces between stars, probability, currents shifted as two incompatible visions of reality prepared to meet in battle. The Federation sought to maintain order through control and limitation. Humanity and its allies sought to enable growth through understanding and transcendence. Only one vision could survive what was coming. The gravitational anomaly at Sagittarius Center had existed for billions of years, a massive black hole around which the galaxy slowly turned. Today, it would witness the greatest confrontation in galactic history as two incompatible visions of reality prepared to clash in the cosmic depths where space and time bent like putty in the hands of physics. Fleet Admiral Emma Rodriguez stood in the consciousness chamber of the TCS Destiny. Her mind merged with the ship's quantum intelligence as data flowed through her awareness in patterns that would have driven any pre-transcendent human insane. Around her, the combined fleet of the Transcendence Alliance took shape. 200 vessels that represented technologies the universe had never seen working in harmony. The human dreadnought Evolution phased between dimensions, its hull existing simultaneously in normal space and the quantum foam that underlay reality. Silicon collective world ships restructured themselves at the molecular level, their living metal bodies adapting to combat configurations that optimized for 11-dimensional warfare. Voidwalker energy beings inhabited probability clouds that existed everywhere and nowhere, ready to strike from angles that three-dimensional thinking couldn't comprehend. Federation fleet detected, reported navigator Lisa Park, her consciousness spread across sensor arrays that monitored 17 different aspects of spacetime. Chancellor Thuvan commands over 10,000 vessels representing every member species of the Galactic Federation. Emma felt the ship's quantum consciousness crew processing tactical information faster than thought itself. The Federation had brought overwhelming numbers to this confrontation, but numbers meant nothing when your opponent could exist in multiple states simultaneously. Open a channel to all Federation vessels, Emma commanded. Her words carried across the quantum communication network that connected every ship in the Alliance fleet. Chancellor Thuvan's crystalline form appeared in the holographic display, his faceted body reflecting the twisted light of the galactic center. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed officers from dozens of species, all united in their determination to preserve the established order. Admiral Rodriguez, Thuvan's voice carried the weight of 43 civilizations. You will surrender your impossible technologies and submit to Federation oversight, or face the combined might of galactic civilization. Emma's response echoed across space, heard simultaneously by every consciousness in both fleets. Chancellor Thuvan, the universe doesn't ask permission to evolve, and neither do we. The battle began not with weapons fire, but with a demonstration of capabilities that challenged the Federation's understanding of physical reality. Alliance vessels moved through the Federation formation like thoughts through dreams, their quantum consciousness crews processing tactical information faster than enemy computers could calculate responses. The evolution engaged 3 Federation dreadnoughts simultaneously, its quantum state hull allowing it to absorb their weapons fire and redistribute the energy across multiple dimensions. Silicon Collective ships rebuilt themselves faster than they could be destroyed, their molecular-level control allowing them to adapt to any attack in real time. But it was the Void Walkers who truly demonstrated the futility of conventional warfare against transcendent technology. Their energy beings flowed through Federation shields as if they didn't exist, disrupting ship systems by simply thinking different thoughts in proximity to classical computers. Impossible, Thuvan transmitted as his fleet's formations began to collapse around him. Your vessels violate the fundamental laws of causality. Your laws are incomplete, Emma replied, her consciousness interfacing with probability streams that showed her every possible outcome of the battle simultaneously. The species that built the ruins on Kepler taught us something your Federation never learned. Consciousness isn't separate from the universe. It's the universe becoming aware of itself. The demonstration continued as human vessels fired their probability weapons, shots that retroactively ensured they always hit their targets. Federation ships found their shields failing not because they were overwhelmed, but because the mathematical possibility of protection simply ceased to exist in their local spacetime. Yet as the Alliance demonstrated their overwhelming technological superiority, something unexpected happened. Instead of pressing their advantage, the human fleet began to withdraw from direct combat, their vessels taking defensive positions that protected rather than destroyed the Federation ships. Why aren't you finishing us? Thuvan demanded, his voice carrying confusion along with defeat. You have demonstrated clear superiority. Why show mercy to those who would have destroyed you? Emma's answer came not just from her own consciousness, but from the collective intelligence of every human who had participated in their species' transcendence. Because destruction isn't evolution. Because the universe is vast enough for every form of consciousness that can emerge within it. Because you taught us something important when you cast us out. The holographic display shifted to show new arrivals at the battle site, not reinforcements, but observers. Ancient beings emerged from the cosmic background, species so old that they had witnessed the rise and fall of multiple galactic civilizations. The Time Weavers stepped sideways from parallel timelines where this battle had taken different forms. The cycle repeats, spoke a voice that seemed to come from the fabric of spacetime itself. One of the ancient observers materialized, a being of such transcendent advancement that looking at it directly caused reality to flicker around its edges. Every galactic civilization eventually faces this choice: evolve or enforce stagnation. Chancellor Thuvan's crystalline form pulsed with patterns that indicated deep distress. What are you? We are what your Federation could become if you chose growth over control, the ancient being replied. We are what the builders of Kepler became before they transcended physical existence entirely. We are proof that consciousness has no limits, except those it imposes on itself. As the truth of the situation became clear, a remarkable transformation began to occur throughout both fleets. Individual Federation ships began breaking formation, their crews making contact with Alliance, vessels to learn about the technologies they had just witnessed. The Kalari delegation, already committed to leaving the Federation, openly requested permission to join the Transcendence Alliance. But the most significant change came from Chancellor Thuvin himself. As he watched his carefully ordered galaxy transforming around him, the Altarian leader made a choice that would define the future of galactic civilization. "How do we learn?" he asked, his voice carrying the weight of a species abandoning millennia of rigid thinking. If evolution cannot be stopped, if transcendence is the natural direction of consciousness, then how do we participate rather than resist? Emma felt the moment like a quantum collapse, probability streams converging into a single outcome that would reshape the galaxy. The same way humanity learned, by accepting that impossible is just another word for undiscovered, by choosing growth over safety, exploration over control. The Battle of Sagittarius Center ended not with victory or defeat, but with transformation. Federation species began dismantling the rigid hierarchy that had governed them for 37,000 years. Some chose to maintain traditional ways while others embraced transcendent technologies. The galaxy became a place where multiple forms of consciousness could coexist and evolve along their own paths. Dr. Alex Kumar, monitoring the events from his research facility on Luna, felt a satisfaction that transcended personal achievement. The Prometheus Institute's work had not just saved humanity, it had shown the galaxy that evolution was a choice every species could make. 5 years later, the transformed galaxy bore little resemblance to the rigid Federation that had once rejected humanity. Teaching centers established by the Transcendence Alliance spread throughout known space, offering any species the opportunity to explore quantum consciousness integration. Some chose transcendence, others chose traditional paths, but all did so without fear of suppression or control. Fleet Admiral Emma Rodriguez, now commander of the Cosmic Exploration Initiative, led expeditions beyond the galactic rim where new civilizations waited to be discovered. Her ships carried not weapons of conquest but tools of transcendence, quantum consciousness interfaces, probability manipulators, and dimensional phase drives that could take consciousness itself to places it had never imagined. The ancient ruins on Kepler 442c had become a pilgrimage site for species throughout the galaxy, a reminder that transcendence was not just possible, but inevitable for any consciousness willing to embrace the infinite possibilities of existence. And in the vast cosmos beyond, new civilizations watched the transformation with interest, knowing that the cycle of growth and transcendence would continue. The universe, it seemed, had infinite room for consciousness to explore, infinite possibilities, for beings willing to reach beyond the boundaries of what they thought possible. Humanity had been cast out by a galaxy afraid of change. In response, they had become the catalyst for transformation itself, proving that evolution was not a force to be controlled, but a gift to be shared. The greatest discovery was not any single technology, but the understanding that consciousness and cosmos were partners in an eternal dance of becoming. The galaxy had learned what humanity discovered in their darkest hour, that rejection by the established order was not punishment, but liberation. And in that liberation, the universe itself had found new ways to know and understand itself through the infinite diversity of transcendent thought.